So here's the plan for the March break. It starts in 2 days. And guess what? I want to spend as much time alone as possible as an introvert. Now, some of you will say, well, how can you spend vacation by yourself and not want to be with other people and live life to the maximum? Well, that's a good question. Now, if you are an extrovert, then meeting people is just amazing. As a teacher, you're surrounded with people all day. You are feeding off the activities you're doing, the people you meet, and it is amazing. However, as an introvert, sometimes it's a bit different. So for me, being in front of a crowd, being a teacher is an acquired skill. So that means that I love to be in a position where I can help others, I can be with a group. However, in a group setting with a class, it tends to take my energy, or I feel that sometimes I give more and more all the time. So that means that when we have a break coming up, what I need to do is I need to step back, regroup, and for that, I need time for myself. So that's what we're going to talk about today. How we have a good March break as an introvert. So welcome to my channel. So let's see, making sure that we have good sound. Let's double check. We have sound here, so that's outstanding. Very good. So if you don't know me, I'm a teacher for more than 25 years. Yep. And I have learned that in a classroom setting, we can do amazing work. However, over the years, I realized that as an introvert, I've had to build the skills to be there for my students. Now, as a science teacher, the beauty of that is that we're focusing on content, we're focusing on topics, we're focusing on labs, we're focusing on things. And it is so much easier than other teachers where they are looking at, for example, novel, discussing feelings, discussing the storyline, which is much harder for me. So let's see. So if you want to decide, no, if you are looking for a definition of an introvert, for me, an introvert is a person who gets energy by being able to talk to people one-on-one, to be able to have time to reflect and think and have a positive contribution as part of a group, but not necessarily with people, but as part of a team where you can work and then contribute what you've done. So you don't have to always be with people. You are working amazingly well by yourself, autonomously. And then you can compile the work with the team. There's Simon Sinek has a good definition of what it feels like to be an introvert. And he was saying that if you are taking a group of people and you're giving everybody 5 coins. So what happens is that when you go in a group setting, you can exchange coins. So that means that when an introvert gets into a group setting and is sharing information as part of a group conversation, that introvert is giving one of their coins to the group or to one person they're talking to. And if they talk to another person, they give another coin. But if they have 5 at the beginning, they talk with a few people, one group, a second person, they give a coin to the host that is there for the party. They give another coin because they are discussing about current news or what's happening in workplace or in their hobbies. And then what happens is at the beginning, the introvert had 5 coins and now it has only 1. And if it happens that the evening is long enough, that coin will go to another person. So an introvert ends the evening or the social with no more coins at the end of the day. So and what happens to extroverts? Extroverts are part of a group, being with people. They are gaining energy by being with people, by talking with people, having conversation and being part of groups. So what happens? Every time they're part of a group, they start with 5 coins. They talked with people, they gain energy and perspective. Then they end up with 6 coins. Then they talk to other people, 7. They network, 8. They talk to a friend they haven't seen in a long time, and then that leads to a conversation with 3 other people. So what happens? You may have extroverts ending the evening with 10 coins. So that makes a difference between an extrovert in a social setting compared to an introvert in a social setting. The extrovert will end the evening on a high. They will go home. That will be a great time, and they're energized by the group. However, if you're an introvert, what happens is that you go in with your energy, but as you go on, the energy goes down. So by the time you finish the evening, all you want to do is regroup. You want to go home. You want to be by yourself so that you can regroup and get the energy again until the next time. So what happens here is that in as a teacher, if you're an extrovert, that's amazing. You are going through your classes. I know there's a lot of things to do, but often you end the day with more energy, and it is amazing. You have stuff to do in evenings, you contribute in school, in your family, in your community, and you're doing amazing. For introverts, it's a bit trickier because once you're done the day with everybody around with all the requirements of the job and the discussion with people, you go home and then you need to regroup to get your energy back. So, what will I do for the March break? The chances are that I'm going to be spending it at home. At this point, I have no plans. My goal is to be able to rest and spend time by myself as much as possible. How will I do that? Here are a few ideas for you. So, first of all, the thing I need to pay attention is that I'm part of a family setting. So the first thing is to give all the energy as usual to my family and people I care for. That's something I do every day. And when I deal with people in the group setting, I always keep that reserve of energy for my family. So that's above all the key thing. Now, once my family is happy, I've been there for them and therefore every day, it gives me time to do other things for the rest of the day or having a few days for myself. So let's see. The first couple of days, the chances are that I'm going to go into a place where I would call a cave. I have a place in the basement or in the living room. I'm going to take a book and I will want to have the least amount of sound as possible, the least amount of visual stimulant, so no computers or as little as possible. So here I have the ring light here in front, and it is a lot of bright light, but I need to step away from that because I need to be able to regroup. And for that, often by myself is the best thing. I may spend a couple of hours just looking at the ceiling, just breathing and appreciating the present moment. Now, I don't want to do that for the whole week. So what happens is that I do plan activities every day so that things are good. So let's see what kind of activities that would be good for this March break. So first of all, I'm going to be at home. So I'm going to take care of a few places around the house where I want to focus on cleaning and setting up slowly. And I would have time. I usually spend a couple of hours, a few days during that week where it's on my calendar. I will take care of the living room, kitchen, the living area so that together as a family, we have a great place to be. So that's the first thing. Second, I love car rides. Car rides are amazing because I'm in my car and therefore there's nobody around. So I like to go for coffee and with a book, and I will take a book and read in my car. Now, what's interesting, you say, well, whatever I read is not important. But what's interesting though is about the coffee. I'm not going to go to the coffee shop just by my place. Sometimes I'm going to go for a car ride, drive for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. And then if I see a cafe and I like to look at the restaurants or family restaurants and not chain, and therefore I have a coffee an hour away from where I am, I spend an hour enjoying the coffee, doing some reading, and then I drive back. So I'm going to do that a few times in the spring break. And the reason for that, it allows me to enjoy coffee because I like to do that, enjoy peace, and enjoy a car ride at the same time. If you feel like a coffee, and you like to have time for yourself, you don't have to go to the closest coffee shop. So that's a trick that I have. Another one I like to do is hiking. Hiking is amazing for the March break because you're outside. It's the springtime, so here things are snow is melting here. I have to have boots because it's muddy everywhere. However, it smells great. You're not inside a building. You're not in front of a computer screen. You can enjoy the environment. And too often we don't have as much chance to do that during the school year. So I love to do that. And then again, I don't have to hike just beside my place. I love to take sometimes 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or an hour drive to be able to go to a place. There's an app where I can find trails and then I go for an hour walk, an hour and a half, come back to my car, and then I come back here. I feel energized all the time. And keeping in mind that the March break is time for me to re-energize. So that could work for you as well. And in the spring, we have the Maple Syrup Festival here in Canada. That means that the maple trees are, their sap is coming out, and then there's a few activities and festival with maple syrup. Now, some of you will say, well, there's a lot of people in those festivals. That is true. However, if you are going early, there are very few people going there, because if people have kids, they get up at 8, 9, they go out at 10 or 11, and most of those festivals start at 8 in the morning, which is great. With respect to time as well, during the March break, I tend to keep my same schedule. That means I go to bed at the same time and I get up at about the same time. So I'm going to get up at around 6 or 7 a.m. every day. You're going to say, well, why would I want to get up early? Well, when you get up early, the house is quiet. When you go outside for hikes, it's quiet, and therefore it's beautiful. And keeping my schedule helps me for other things as well. I live close to Toronto, so I'm going to go for a few car rides for a few things that I love. One will be the Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls is about an hour away from here, so I'm going to go for a car ride and then a hike by the falls. That'll be great. Now, what's interesting in the spring, when it's cold a little bit, there's a lot less people than people in the summer. So that's something that is outstanding. So these are activities I'm going to do during the March break. If you are not sure what you can do where you live, always look at the different activities in the area. Sometimes festivities not within your town or your county. You can always look outside, maybe at 35, 40 minutes, an hour away, and just enjoy exploring. So exploration is a good thing, because as an introvert, if you are to try something new or explore, that's energizing, because you are learning at the same time. And one thing that I enjoy and get my energy up is learning new things. And that's why I have this YouTube channel in French and in English to share what I learned, which is amazing. What is the next thing? So these are activities I'm going to do. Now, within the week, I'm going to take one day as a teacher, and I'm going to work for one day. And you're going to say, well, why would you want to work for one day in the March break? Well, I'll tell you why. When you teach during the weekdays, you are working with people all day. It takes energy. So when you go home, often you have less energy. That means that if you have to do some work, do some marking, some preparation, what happens? It takes more time because you're tired. So what I do, I usually set up one day where I leave in the morning early. I go for breakfast in a restaurant, and then I do some work either at that restaurant if it's not busy, or I even go at the library, because the library is empty during the March break. And what I do during that time is I do as much marking as I can do for that day. And the reason for that is that it's during the daytime. It's when I'm rested. This is when I am full of energy, and I don't have to deal with people during that day. So guess what? I can mark probably 4 times as much in the same time with the same energy. So I can mark 4 times as much, or I can mark 4 times as fast, because I do it with the energy and not with after work energy. That makes a big difference. So that's what I do. I'll just spend one day and I would plan it. I usually plan it on the Monday of the March break, because I have the first weekend to do all the things I want to do. The Monday I get the work done, and then I have the rest of the week to do what I want to do and all the activities I outlined a few minutes ago. And with respect to the next thing that I do, I like to do hobbies. So with respect to my hobbies, these are the things I'm going to do. I'm going to do a lot of reading. So one thing that I like to do is focus on work for one day. And then I set aside all the work that I might read from students, because students are amazing. They write amazing answers. They write activities, the exit passes, tests, essays. But what happens is that sometimes it's hard to read the sentence structure, the organizations of thoughts, and such. Reading a good book is a good thing. It just reminds you how well things are, how well things can be written, and it gets you to reflect and learn. I usually set aside a book in English and a book in French so I can I read. I usually alternate, and I always try to see if I can read as much of them as possible and even finish them. Other things I do is I like to call a few friends. So I know that I mentioned that I like to be by myself as much as possible, but I'm here for my family, people I care for, and I always have a few friends that I don't see very often. I often see them in Christmas time, in the summer because I have more time. In the March break, often I like to have one-on-one conversation. So I usually call no more than two friends during that week. And during that week, we can go for a coffee or we can go for a breakfast. And then we're going to chat for a few hours and just with one person. So I don't have to deal with several people or be part of a group in the conversation. And it works nicely. And these are things I do, ideas for you to go through the March break if you're an introvert as a teacher. Now, if you're a student, same thing. Plan your March break to recharge your battery. If you're an extrovert, do as much activities as you can with as many people as you can. That is a secret for success. If you're an introvert, set aside times and then you can say, okay, these are the things I want to do to recharge. I know some students will say, well, I like to play video games. Well, you can plan video games. Imagine that if, let's say, you get up at 10 in the morning and you say, well, I would love to play 6 hours of video games. Guess what? You can. You could decide, okay, I'm going to play between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. in the afternoon. That's 6 hours. So that means that you can sleep in as much as you want. 10 o'clock, you'll be waking up anyway. And after you're done playing 6 hours, which is quite a bit, then it's just 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Plenty of time to talk with your family, go and meet with some friends in the evening. And because you are getting up later, you can even go to bed at 11, 12 p.m., 12 a.m. if you want to. The idea here is that if you have a chance to plan a little bit, it allows you to do a lot more with your time and energize yourself, because everything you want to focus on is to make sure that by the time you finish this March break, you are energized for everybody around you. On this, these are the ideas I have for today. If you have any ideas of what you do as an introvert person to give you energy and what you do in the March break, put them in the comments below. That'll be great. If you're an extrovert, give us ideas of what you do that gives you energy, because we're always looking for ideas. On this, for people that have been watching, thank you very much for being there. I always appreciate people listening, and I also appreciate your comments as well. On this, have an amazing winter break, and I'll see you in, not winter break, spring break. There you go. And I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye. There you go.